Hey guys, so the other day on my stream we tried to beat a very difficult challenge, and it's one that will always hold a special place in my heart, and that is beating Trackmania Nations Forever in reverse. I discovered Trackmania in 2013, and one of the things that first got me hooked on the game was Nadeo reverse challenge videos on Jav and Nino's YouTube channels, where I saw players do insanely difficult things that I never imagined were possible with just a Formula 1 race car. There were insane jumps, bounces and flying cars, all just to beat a game in reverse. What might seem like an extremely pointless challenge at first is what captured the essence of Trackmania for me, and it's what I fell in love with about the game. Setting goals for yourself and trying to complete them. And playing all the maps in reverse was such a fascinating idea to me that I had to install the game and try for myself. Needless to say, I didn't stand a chance, but I still kept playing the game afterwards. And if it hadn't been for those videos, I might have never discovered it. I've now played Trackmania for over 7 years, and I like to think I've become somewhat good at it. So before the new Trackmania game gets released, I wanted to see if I could go back and complete the challenge that started it all for me. To walk in the footsteps of giants like Jav and Nino and see which obstacles they had to overcome on their journey through the game, all in reverse. The reverse challenge means beating all of the campaign tracks in reverse. The start block and the finish block on every map have swapped places, and your goal is to complete all of them. In some cases that's fairly easy, and in other cases it's ridiculously difficult. There are 65 campaign tracks in total, but because 10 of them are multi-lap maps, they aren't played in reverse, since the strategy on all of them would be to turn around on the start block and drive them the normal way again. So that brings the total map counter down to 55 maps. And with that out of the way, let's get started. The challenge started off on good old AO1 race. AO1 is an almost symmetrical map and it works very nicely both ways, so we could just cruise to the finish. Okay. Cool map. Next. And the same went for AO2 and AO3 race. Many maps in the campaign are connected all the way from start to finish, and there isn't much interesting going on them. So from now on, I'll only be showing the maps where we had to get creative. One such track would be the next one in line, AO4 Acrobatic. A simple track with just one jump to a platform when driving the normal way. But in reverse, that jump isn't possible. So how do you reach the finish? Well, the developers were kind enough to decorate the track with some water, because when there's water, there's also water edges. And those edges can be used like this. Also, isn't it like afternoon for you? Oh! Yeah, alright. Okay. It kinda hurts. It's like... By driving a lap around the grass and gathering just enough speed, it is possible to hit the water edge corner and bounce up all the way to the finish. This took me quite a lot of attempts, getting infuriatingly close to making it, until finally, this run happened. Like, damn. Alright. The balance, boys. Straight in. Next up, there was AO6, where after easily getting the first checkpoint, there was no good way of making further progress. You couldn't reach the road behind the checkpoint or land outside the pool easily, as the finish is placed on an island in the middle of the map. The only way to get out was to go scuba diving. By going to the corner of the pool at a blistering fast 36 kilometers an hour, it is actually possible to escape by landing on the side of the edge and just barely having enough grip to climb your way up. It's a precise trick and it took a fair few attempts, but finally we managed to get out. That's a positive. Moving water should be colder. Alright, okay. Then all that remained was picking up the first checkpoint on the track and driving back to the finish. The next few tracks were a breeze, up until A12, which has a start block placed on the ground and a finish all the way up in the air, with no roads or jumps that are within reach. This track is so difficult that I decided to skip it for now and return to it later. A13 is seemingly impossible, as there are boosters pointed against you just after the start. If you try to just drive across, they will push you back, and there's no way to get around them. But luckily, there is a trick which makes it possible to get across. By constantly drifting and alternating between steering left and right, you can wiggle your way across, as the booster effect won't activate while your car is still drifting. After that, you can cruise to the finish. A14 and A15 were both easy tracks to round out the white series, and in the green series, BO1, 2 and 3 were also all easy. Bringing us to BO4 Acrobatic. BO4 is a bit of a brain twister when you first see it. The track only consists of one wall ride, and just trying to drive it normally won't get you to the other side. Apart from that, there is no scenery on the ground or otherwise that you can use to reach the finish with. So what do? What you could try is replacing your car with the Golden Gate Bridge, and then touching the finish block on the other side with it. But that would be cheating. The actual solution is that these wall rides also have a ledge on top of them. And the ledge is just barely wide enough that the car can balance and drive on them. With a bit of precision, you have to drive up the wall ride and then land on the ledge on top. After that, you carefully make your way across to the other side and drop down to the quarter pipes without falling off. BO6 Obstacle is perhaps my favorite map in reverse. Here you have to go up the hill and then jump next to the sign to get to the checkpoint. From there you take as much speed as you can gather and jump one layer back. And then from there you take even more speed, go through the checkpoint again and use the same jump, only this time you're barely able to reach the next ramp. From there you drop down to the platform and you finish the track. Really elegant solution. BO7 is perhaps the most frustratingly annoying map in the challenge. Here we once again were able to use the water edges to bounce up with, up to the last checkpoint of the map, which wasn't that annoying to pull off. But at the end of the map there's this gravity defying trick that you have to do, where you turn around on the checkpoint, drive with speed, and try to flip up to the road directly above you. I'll save you guys watching the painstaking amount of attempts it took for me to do this, but finally I was able to get this flip. From here we're gonna take a big leap in the campaign and skip all the way over to CO7 Race. I was able to complete all the maps in between BO7 and CO7, but since I value your time and there just wasn't that much interesting to show you there, we're gonna get back into the action. It seemed by now that there was a common theme among the hardest maps. If the start originally was at the highest point of the map, then in reverse when it became a finish, you were going to have some problems. On CO7 this became very apparent. To reach all the way up to the finish, we had to take speed around the stadium for one lap, and then do this. Boys, we've done it! CO7 Reverse. Next up, on C13, we again had to escape the pool to make any progress on the map. But why? All of the roads on this map are placed way up in the air, and there isn't any water edge that you can bounce with to get back on the road. Well, the plan here was to drive one lap around the stadium for speed, and then bounce with this sign to make our way up to the top of the stadium. Once we were there, we could use this nicely placed gap in the roof to drop down to the platforms. So after making your way all the way up to the top, all that you have to do is aim for the platform. Where's the choke? I'm not seeing it. Oh. It was on the other side. Alright, okay, you know. Yeah, second time's the charm. D11 Acrobatic is one of the most infamous reverse maps. It's seemingly impossible at a first glance, as you have to make your way from here to the ring checkpoint and then somehow back to the start road. But it has a clever solution, and I'll let live Wirtual do the talking. If you haven't seen this before, I'll show you guys how. First off, Getting a lot of speed on the platform here, turning around, and using the small space next to the start here to drop down to the grass. Step 1. Now get speed. And for step 2, gotta use the sculpture and jump up to the platform to get the ring. Here. Now with speed, we're gonna jump to step 3. Just landing on the grass over here and trying to keep a lot of speed here. That was alright, it wasn't perfect. Step 4. Making my way over to this island, perfect. And for the last step, boys, just gotta jump back to the start road, which has a finish on it now. Conveniently, we can reach that too. Then it's just a matter of using the space you have. Finish D11. Now we get to D12 speed, which didn't seem too bad at first, since you could fairly easily rejoin the normal route of the map and gather all the checkpoints. But then what? How exactly would you reach the finish block? Because the finish is placed all the way on the top of the map, and it has no obvious scenery that you could use to your advantage. In 2013, when the reverse campaign was originally done, they had to get incredibly creative to solve the puzzle that was D12 reverse, looking at every possible nook and cranny of the map to see if there was anything they could use to bounce on to reach the finish. And in the end, 2 ideas proved far more likely than the rest. The first one was to end up on this checkpoint as the final one, and using it as a starting point for taking speed. Then you would jump over the wall ride and land on the platform with speed, and then from there you would get as much speed as you could and bounce on the road edge, which could barely reach the finish road. The second idea was an absolutely mental idea from Nino. Nino's idea on D12 speed was to end up with this checkpoint as the last one and using that as a starting point for getting speed. And then he would do this. By landing 90 degrees sideways with the nose of the car tilted slightly down and then doing a slide, the car will generate a lot of speed. And then when it hits the road border, the game does a miscalculation where it gives you more speed instead of less, causing the car to blast off into the air. Nino thought that he could reach the finish this way, but the Uber bug is incredibly hard to predict, and there's no way of knowing what happens as every outcome is different. Eventually, Tomil would become the first player to complete D12 speed reverse using the road bounce way, and Nino would also finish the track the same way. But still, believing in his Uberbug idea, he hunted the track for several weeks. And in February of 2014, he finally pulled off this masterpiece replay. I ended off the first day by finishing D13, EO1, EO2, and EO4, having completed 53 out of 55 tracks in the first day, with only A12 and D12 remaining. The next day, I started out with D12 speed, and I had decided to go for Tomil's route, the road border bounce. Knowing that it was possible and that it had been done before certainly made it easier on the motivation, but this bounce is insane. Every attempt at it feels futile, as you're bouncing nowhere near far enough to reach the finish road. In order to finish, you need to hit one specific point on the road border, where for some reason the car will then bounce higher than usual. It took me over 3 hours of playing it, endlessly trying to bounce on the road border, until I finally got this attempt. That depends on us. That does depend on us. Oh, the speed here, holy, okay, fast. Yes! Oh! Hey, let's go. Let's do it. 1 track left. 1 more. Now there was just 1 map remaining. The final boss of the reverse project. A12 speed. It again had the finish on the very top of the map, and the start was placed all the way down on the grass, and it seemed like there was nothing I could do to get up to the road. But amazingly, this map was also solved in 2013, by Nino, where he went up to the roof of the stadium like on C13 and then dropped down to the platform with the boosters. Then he gathered as much speed as he could, and with a very lucky bounce on the inflatable blocks, he was able to bounce all the way up to the road, and then from there, he could get the final checkpoint and drive up to the finish. After finishing D12, I tried A12 for a lot of hours, doing over 60 attempts at copying Nino's route and trying to get the same end bounce to no avail. But one of my viewers, Aerosol19, had an interesting idea. He thought that instead of hitting the same spot as Nino, you could tilt the car more and hit another part of the inflatable block. This way of bouncing would give you more height, but usually less distance, so reaching the road was still a problem, but the trade-off gave me many more promising attempts. After trying for several hours, I decided to put it off to the next day, get some sleep and come back stronger. And the next day, we did exactly that. After just 40 minutes of trying, on bounce attempt number 127, it was all coming together. We're done, boys. This is it. And just like that, I had successfully completed Trackmania Nations Forever in reverse. It felt a bit weird completing the challenge that first introduced me to Trackmania, as if I'd somehow gone full circle with the game. But then again, perhaps this video was your introduction to Trackmania and inspired you to try it. Go out there, have fun. Setting a challenging goal for yourself, even in a video game, is such an amazing feeling when you achieve it. If you have any ideas for future challenges I should try, feel free to suggest them in the comments below. Also, if you like this video, then consider subscribing to the channel to stay up to date when more Trackmania content is coming out. But that's all for now, guys. Thank you for watching.